Hello. Today I'm going to tie for you what I'm calling a skinny Banshee. So it's kind of a funny name, but it's a mashup of some things that I've seen. Banshee because of the fly that Charlie Craven did, and skinny because it has a Biot body. We're going to do this one on a size 16. Um, Not sure where I got those hooks, but they'll work for this. It's going to have the Biot body, some Coq de Leon for tail, and I'm using some of that macrame cord for the wing. Now, if you're going to go smaller, you probably want something with thinner fibers. And I'm going to crisscross the thorax with some of that superfine dubbing. I'll hold it all together with 8/0 thread. And this thread is tan. And what I noticed about this is if I go a little beyond where I tie in the biot, back around the bend, um, and a little thread happens to show through, it falls right in line and looks like it's one of the stripes or segments. So it matches that biot almost perfect for this. So one of the features of this fly, and again, I don't know, it's kind of a mashup, and I'm doing a lot of that lately because I don't want to do what everybody else does. I could sit here and tie atoms or um, who you name it, and that frankly would be boring. And this probably is to some of you too, so I apologize for that. So there I do that little crisscross thing where I tie in the tip of the biot, and the smooth side, because I don't want a ridge in this, is down and toward the back. And I caught the tip and wrapped it under, and I'm going to put in a little bundle of those Coq de Leon fibers. They looked a little long to me, so I'm going to not pull too tight yet, kind of shorten them up. And it's about here when I do that that some of them move and some of them don't, but this time it seemed to work okay. So we got them trapped in. We're going to snip off the waist. And I started to say it, but let's talk again. One of the features of this fly is going to be that the Biot takes a couple of wraps behind or below the tail, and then overlaps the tail and keeps going forward. So this hook is a size 16. It's got a nice wide gap on it though. I think it's kind of perfect for this. But this pattern with the biots and the materials I use, again, you could use thinner fibered material for the wings, but it is some thin fibered poly, I guess, would be ideal for the smaller version, but you could go really small with this. So I have to apologize. I'm kind of fiddly throughout this fly. I do a lot of primping and whatever, but hey, it's gives me a little more time to talk about it. So I got two wraps behind. I'm going to use the rotary feature. And in some cases, I would probably put a little super glue on the shank and glue that biot down. So I think it helps hold the thing together. There's not really going to be a rib or anything to hold it. But I am going to coat it in head cement, in this case Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. So we're going to come up, we got a really nice segmented striped body. You'll notice that when you wrap down the tail with the biot, and I fiddled with it a while just to test it and see, but it kind of flattens out the tail. So if you like that kind of tail, um, this comes out that way almost without effort. If you're one of those guys that likes a single bundle, straight back, straight as you can get them kind of tail, um, this doesn't really do that. So we'll snip off the excess biot. I'll put in another little whip finish here. So you can see it's kind of cool. Those fibers are stiff and in there tight, and they spread. No matter what I do to them, they spread back out. So I'm kind of like that. And one of the reasons I started fooling with this now is because if you do the real small versions, wintertime's a good time for midges. So you could probably get different colored biots and um, maybe a different color poly for the wings, and come up with some kind of midge that it would be fun to catch a fish on here come November, December. Some of the tailwaters are open year round, and that's always fun. So I'm using the bodkin. That's just a drop of Sally Hansen's Hard as Nails. Got a nice coating on there. And this is where I take them all to this point and stick them in the cork, let them dry. So I'll just swap that out for one I did a few minutes earlier. So you can see I have 3 on the hook. I haven't gone further than this, so it's first time through for the rest of this fly. Kind of tying, again, from my imagination, not necessarily following an exact pattern. So I tend to do that. That's the stuff I tend to film, but it's also fun to sit there and crank out, I don't know, 50 of the same thing that you know you're going to use a bunch of too. So here's one strand of that gray poly. Like I said, it's that macrame cord that we got in Huge Bog. I took one strand, split it in half, and I'm going to start in like one of those bundles, one of those halves. Couple turns and then twist it. I want this to go perpendicular to the hook shank. And if you're used to doing this some other way, feel free. This stuff is like tying a porcupine to the stake though, because those little fibers go in all directions, and like I said, it was kind of fiddly. I catch some of those in from time to time. You can trim them all off later, but I got a few cross wraps in there and it's not going to go anywhere. So this will be, I'm trying to think, I think it was Kelly Gallup that did a fly. He called it the found link, and he puts that little poly wing crisscross underneath, kind of spent wing style. So it can hurt. There's no hackle on this one. So here what I'm doing, I left that other half of that strand of poly as I tie it in. I let some of that stick out over the eye. And now I have a nice crisscross thing going on here. And it's not as artful or as elegant as the Banshee that Charlie does, but like I said, in a little fly, it's probably going to do what I want it to do. And for those of you who follow me, I picked up a hater here and there, but somebody kind of gave me a thumbs down on that little jig streamer that I tied last time, but I put a few fish in the net and it did exactly what I thought it was going to do. So I don't know. I get the last laugh, or it doesn't really matter. I'm not monetized, and I don't know. Did it hurt my feelings? Maybe, because I'm saying something now, but I'm just trying to share ideas and foster an interest in this stuff that I spend a lot of time thinking about and doing, and it's been a great lifelong hobby. So I'm not whining here, but you could be a little considerate before you just throw me to the wolves. So there's some of that olive colored super fine dubbing. Olive, because I think that would be more important on the smaller flies if I was trying to match some little olive hatch coming on here in the winter. So I've got on my wings. I'm going to do one more thing, and this is kind of a la the balloon caddis or whatever. After I snip out some stray fibers, I'm going to fold that back section that's parallel to the shank, fold it forward, and I'm going to leave a little bubble there. So I don't know, it could represent something partially emerged. It could catch a little air and help this thing float. And I don't know, it just kind of looks buggy. So in hindsight, I think I would use a few less fibers for this because it is doubled up going forward. But again, you can always snip any extra out. The bubble's kind of nice and thick. I'm not sure that's ideal. I think I could use a few less fibers there if I can critique as I go here. So I got a couple of wraps in, and I'm going to put a couple of wraps behind the eye and under those fibers up front. And now I'll get ready to whip finish. I'm going to whip finish directly around the shank behind the eye. So you see me sneak off camera here with the bobbin. And what it's doing is hanging over one of the screws on my vise. So it can just provide some tension while I pull everything out of the way and put my whip finish on. And I'll pick it back up and pull the knot tight. So another note here to mention while I'm going to trim and prune away at this thing. I had a Windows machine that wasn't suitable to upgrade to Windows 11, and I switched over and became a Linux guy. And I've been using open source Linux tools to make these videos. So I film them with my phone. I don't have, $1 million camera, although phones aren't cheap. And I put it all together here on a Linux machine with some open source software. And some of that, it gets buggy at times. It's between upgrades or something, but I think I have it all back in order. My audio was a little rough there a while ago. They still have some bugs with the audio to work out, but enough about that. I'm going to trim all three of these wings. They're all about a shank length, and I like the two side wings, the spent wings, to be angled and kind of rounded off a little bit. So I'll snip the corners off of those guys. Any long fibers, there are enough fibers here. You can snip away anything that you don't like. Yeah, pull it around. I don't think a fish could hurt this. I think you could catch a fish and do a false cast or two, and it would be dried back off and ready to float again. So I think that's kind of cool. That super fine, I don't know if it would soak up some floatant or the polyurine would, but I don't even know if that's necessary. So I like the looks of that. I'll kind of stop snipping here. I did use that tan thread, so I'm going to sneak in with a marker. Kind of push too hard with my right hand there, trying to steady things up and move the vise a little bit, but I just darkened the bottom. Don't really care about the top as much, but it'll soak up around. And that's my fly, and I'm not taking credit for any of this. I'm standing on the shoulders of everyone else, and I think it would be fun to throw this on a, I don't know, 40-degree day in a tailwater and see if I can get a fish to rise. And I think there are a few of those coming up here in Pennsylvania. So I hope this helps you out. If you want to learn more about me, look me up on Amazon. And until next time, be safe.